nervous, or I feel like pressure, I feel like stressed out, it usually becomes because there's a part of me that feels a little bit unprepared. Like I could have done a little bit more. I should have studied a little bit more. When I do my work and I read all these scouting reports, for guys that are starting and bench guys, I've gotten my work in the weight room. I did my running. I did my rehab and prehab stuff for my shoulder. I got everything right. I'm as prepared and as ready as I can possibly be. I feel like I'm more ready than the guy that steps in the box before I even throw a pitch. Like I already feel like I beat him. So a big part of that is the mentality of knowing that I know exactly what I want to do. Now it just comes down to execution. I'm as ready as I can be.
Where did you learn this, Joe? Like, was there a picture that you saw prior to this, like prepare this way, and you were like, man, this is what it takes for me to?
Yeah, Keiko was like really big on that. And I watched him work a lot. And for somebody that didn't have overpowering stuff, it was amazing to me how he could know when to go in, when to go away, when to change speeds, all these things. And he always talked about, knowing what you can use to start off a guy, like what can I use to get ahead of him and get control of the count? Where is my least amount of damage done throughout the count, and what can I use to put him away with? And it's kind of like people tell you when you're giving a speech or when you're going to go out and talk to somebody, like know the first thing you want to say and know the last thing you want to say. And that's going to make a smooth. And then the middle kind of just happens and you flow and you go with whatever you have to do. But always knowing how you want to start a guy and how you want to finish a guy. And then the middle, you kind of figure out based on what the hitter tells you and the reactions that he gives you. So that was something I learned a lot from Dallas, but I feel like we talked about the analytics stuff. Like it's dangerous a little bit for guys that are young coming into the game, because now there's like so much information and so much stuff for you to use that, you find yourself, and I found myself doing this, was trying to be 9 different pitchers for every guy in the lineup, trying to create a different game plan to beat, everybody's weakness in the lineup, as opposed to McCann telling me, like, you got to understand and find out who you are as a pitcher. Like, what do you do well? What can you execute 8, 9 out of 10 times? What's your bread and butter? What are you going to when you're behind in the count? What are you going to when you need to punch out? Understanding who you are as a pitcher. And like the majority of the lineup, the 6, 7 of those guys in the lineup are going to get your best shit. It doesn't matter what they do well, what they don't do well, they're going to get your best stuff. And then there's the outliers like the Mike Trouts, the Miguel Cabreras, the few bangers in each lineup that you might have to pitch a little more carefully, or you might have to take some chances, in different areas. But for the majority, like, your stuff will always trump, and the confidence and conviction you have in it will always trump what someone doesn't do well.
No doubt. And that's the biggest thing is, like, man, I wish I could just bottle this conversation up, because it's all about execution. It doesn't matter. It truly does not matter what pitch. And this is Mark Burley made a comment to me one time.
I was just about to say, that reminds me of Burley.
Yeah, Burroughs told me one time, he says, hey, no matter what, the sign goes down, I throw the pitch. I says, well, like, what's the thought process? He said, well, I got to execute the pitch. If I don't execute the pitch, it doesn't matter. And that's what I said. You can have all the information in the world you want on wristbands, but the fact of the matter is you got to go out and make the pitch. Right. And having that mindset, especially, you're right, these young kids are going to get left in the dust. I know for a fact they will, because of that.
And I think, like you said, like, when you focus on just execution being the main goal, the biggest difference for me in my last handful of starts last year, and then, leading into this season, is, the mental approach that I'm taking. Like I said, it's purely execution. And I'm like internalizing the challenge of, like, me versus myself. Can I stay at the maximum amount of focus and just worry about execution, and not get into the mental match of, like, I'm going to overpower this guy, or I'm going to mad dog him, I'm going to intimidate him, I'm going to try to outsmart him here. I'm just going to fucking execute, and that's all I care about. Whatever reactions, I don't care about your big swing and going to a knee. It doesn't matter. I'm going to execute the next pitch.